climate change is the great amplifier of problems. I mean, floods, droughts, cyclones, of course, all these have existed throughout the time. But with climate change, this would be much more severe problems. The droughts are wetter, the droughts are drier, the floods are wetter, the cyclones are bigger. So much more people will be displaced. And we have to prevent people being displaced, and we have to make certain that when people are displaced, they are treated in an acceptable, decent manner. So that's the inner core of the purpose of the conference. I think that the most important issue is, of course, prevention. We must prevent this from being a huge problem. Then we must build upon those nations who have already put in place very effective systems to combat the effect of climate change in their nations. Bangladesh, for instance, are building cyclone shelters. That's a school or a rich person's house or a town hall, which is built elevated on pillars. So if a cyclone comes, it will be going underneath and people will not be killed. While in neighboring Myanmar or Burma, there's nothing of that kind. So people there will, unfortunately, are very likely to die. In Caribbean, Cuba, Dominican Republic have good systems for mobilizing the population in case of a natural catastrophe, while Haiti has in reality nothing. So we should build and learn from the positive experiences. Then I think a very important issue is weather forecasting, because unless you can get proper weather forecast, you cannot prepare yourself for the changes in agriculture which is needed, and you cannot prepare yourself for a natural disaster. People need, like we do have now in the rich part of the world, very precise weather forecast, and that should be equal rights for Africans as for Europeans. I do hope so. I mean, there is no way of hiding that climate change negotiations are in an impasse at the moment. From my perspective, we were as successful as it was possible to be in Cancun, not least because of the brilliant Mexican leadership which was provided there. All what climate negotiators called low-hanging fruit, I mean all the easy victories, were basically reached in Cancun. But this is not enough, because I mean what we have agreed today will not lead the world to make certain that the world temperature is not rising above 2 degrees. We are still on the wrong path, so we need to do more. Unfortunately, at the moment, we risk that Durban will be about avoiding setbacks on the Kyoto Protocol. A number of nations are suggesting what I consider are setbacks. They should be avoided, and we should make new steps on the Green Fund, which should be implemented rapidly now, on climate adaptation, systems for assisting particularly African but also other poor nations on climate adaptation. But the main reason we are in an impasse is the domestic situation in the US. The Republicans even tried to withdraw the salaries of the American climate negotiator Todd Stern. So it shows the complete, I mean, isn't it sad? I mean, it's crazy that the most developed nation in the world, one of the two big parties, are the really the people simply denying science. I mean, you could understand if some, I mean, to be frank, some small tribe in some poor nation was doing that, but that one of the two biggest parties in the most developed scientific nation in the world, the United States, is simply denying science, closing their eyes and believing that the problem will disappear. That's simply sad. And that sets a negative standard for others. They should aim at more rather than they will not be ambitious enough.
Okay.
Do you have any last words?
No, I talked a lot.
No. Okay, that's good.
It was okay with you.